Good evening. If you've just joined us, welcome back if you're with the original programme. It's been something of a mixed bag tonight. Some cases, frankly, rather disappointing. Perhaps the most intriguing calls we've had are about the Tom Griffiths case. In particular, one man who says that it was he who murdered Tom Griffiths. It was an accident. He's now rung twice, apparently in quite a distressed state, and they're still hoping he might call again. Sue.
Well, we'll start with that case. We asked, first of all, if you could help find who killed Tom Griffiths in his flat in Cricklewood in northwest London. Tom has spent the evening of Friday the 28th of June at his local pub, the Windmill. He may have upset someone there, but enough to follow him home and murder him. Tom was last seen having left the pub shortly after 11 o'clock. Just over an hour later, Tom had been murdered. Now, Mike, I know you've been receiving a lot of calls, particularly about the size 11 pony trainer.
Yes, we've had a very good response there, and I think we've identified that those shoes are an issue to the post office. Perhaps more importantly, though, could I say that we are aware of the call from the man who's rung here on 2 occasions now. Can I encourage that man? Ask for me. Ring this number at Crimewatch and ask for me. I would like to speak to that man.
Right. Have you had many calls on the artist's impression, the man seen drinking with Vera in the pub?
A number of useful calls which have been developed, but if I can remind you of the description, 5'10" to 6 foot, early 20s to 30 years of age, stocky build. Any calls, any information, I need to know.
Right, and just to remind you once again, we're going back to the 28th of June, back to the summer. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now the missing person, Andrew Elphic. Andrew was the manager from Mossbros who disappeared in August. He joked, or maybe boasted, we don't know, about buying and selling drugs. And he had mysterious contacts which he wouldn't tell his friends about. Now, I know on the whole it's been a rather disappointing response.
Yes, but we are getting a lot of information in from people in connection with the drugs angle, and we still encourage that. We still need that information to come in.
OK, and you still need to contact anybody who knew him from the SW1 club in London. Perhaps I should make it clear, we've no reason to connect that club with any drug dealing, but you still need to contact people who knew him there.
That's true. He went there. We need to contact people that knew him there.
What about that 4 AM phone call he made mysteriously?
Well, nothing in so far, but we'd still appeal to that person who he phoned to contact us.
The other disappointing thing, Northborough Estate in Slough, where the car was dumped the day after he disappeared, morning of 24th of August. No witnesses on that?
Not so far. Another appeal out to anybody that saw any person drive that vehicle onto that estate.
OK, well, calls are still coming in. Let's hope something more materialises.
Yes, thank you.
Now, the results from Incident Desk. David, first of all, the fatal hit-and-run accident in Essex involving a lorry. Are you any nearer finding the driver?
Well, we hope so, Sue, but sadly lots of people have called about ERF E-Series lorries. We don't want to know about them generally. What we want are lorries that have been damaged. Fortunately, a couple of people have called. One saying he saw one at Covent Garden today, and another man who says he's repaired a lorry in that area. It's offside, the near side indicator or step that we're interested in.
What information have you been having on the murder of Lynn Trenholm in Chester?
Yes, 2 men we were looking for there. Well, we've had numerous calls giving us possible names and addresses for them, and in particular, one of those calls stands out above the others because of the information it's given. And we've also had a couple of possible further victims who say they've also been tricked into drinking spiked drinks and then been raped. So they will be able to give us valuable information as well, I'm sure. And again, the descriptions are similar.
What about the luxury motorhome that Lancashire Police have been looking for? They've had calls, I know, from as far afield as the Algarve.
Yes, in fact, they've been watching the programme on satellite. All of those calls will have to be checked out. We're particularly interested in vehicles that have Venture Continental on the side, because we think there are only a couple of that model, certainly in this country and possibly in the world.
So if you've seen something like that, please do give us a ring. Nick?
Well, now Aladdin's Cave, where a number of people have recognised property in the background that Eric didn't even mention. Maybe they've got freeze frames on their videos. But the most calls have been about this chalice.
Yes, the chalice. Calls suggesting places as far away as Cheltenham and as even further, San Francisco, would you believe? But it's anybody's guess at this stage.
And someone thinks they've identified
well, the
that tiara.
Yeah, the tiara. We've actually got the name of a duchess that's been put forward who's sadly missing her tiara at the moment.
And it fits that description?
Well, we believe so. We'll probably have to have it fitted for her. But the albums have caused a lot of interest, and I did expect that because these were made on a large scale. Now have a good look at those, because these are mass-produced objects, but these are in immaculate condition. And when it comes to immaculate condition, now I have to say I'm not on the square, but this Masonic jewel caught somebody's eye. It's a past master's jewel, and you can tell by the quality of it that it dates from the late Victorian period. It's actually dated here, Cherry Bless Lodge. Isn't actually dated, but it's got the name Cherry Bless Lodge.
Number 2466.
That's it. That's the name of the lodge.
And a lot of calls I saw coming in about the cats behind you.
Yes, Louis Wain, very popular. I mean, cats with human expressions, that was his speciality. And I dare say that it's worth a bit of money, because each one of those cats has got to be worth at least £200, £250 a time.
There's 1,200 quid sitting on the wall
About,
there. Someone
yes.
can identify it.
Not so far off.
Thanks. Sue.
Well, our last reconstruction tonight was on the murder of Vera Anderson. Vera lived in Widnes with her 7-year-old son. Most of her social life centred on a local truck stop called the Roll Inn. Many of her friends were lorry drivers. But who did she meet for a drink at the Crown and Cushion pub? Witnesses remember seeing her there on the night she died. Who was the man she was with? 3 hours later, Vera's body was found in her car, parked 600 yards away. She'd been murdered. Now, I know you've had quite a few calls in what's been a relatively short time since we came off the air. What have they been about?
Well, we've had a terrific response so far. Over 150 calls have been received. Now, the majority of them are the board and the gloves. And there's some very useful suggestions from that, and we appreciate that help. We've not had any from any lorry drivers so far. I can assure them of our discretion. Please contact us. We need to know about Vera's background. But as far as the man in the pub is concerned, we've had about 35 calls offering suggestions. He's our prime suspect, and it's vital that we trace him. Now, there's been one call in particular which I really need for that caller to come back. It's a young lady who's rang this studio in a very distressed voice and said that she knew who had killed Vera, and then she rang off. I'm asking her now, please ring us. You can trust us. We'll treat your information in confidence.
Mr. Anderson, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Well, now, Photocall. Jackie, let's start off, first of all, with Peter Fletcher, who's wanted by Sussex Police in connection with an attempted murder in Hove.
Yes, a number of calls citing him in the South Coast area and identifying friends and associates of him, so I believe he's still in that area. Sussex Police are going to check some names and addresses that have been suggested. There's one caller that gave an indication they'd cited him recently, and the officer feels that there could be more information, so please call back. He'd like to have another chat with you.
What about Gary Aston? He went under a lot of other names as well.
Yes, didn't he? We've had 20 calls so far, and a number, interesting enough, coming from people who've been sold items by a man who fits his description, and they've been paid for with the stolen cheques in the name of A. Chapman. And the last report was 24 hours ago in Tyneside, so if you've seen him in the Tyneside area, please give us a call.
And the man that was dubbed the Filofax fraudster, very, very smartly dressed sort of character.
Yes, £5,000 was he's got across the country. We thought we'd get a good response from this, but it's only in fact in the last few minutes we've had lots of calls giving names, and one in particular the officers are very excited about, so perhaps good news next month.
Splendid. Jackie, thank you.
And that's it from us for another month. If you know something about any of our cases tonight, do please pick up the phone. Your call could prevent another innocent people becoming victims. The lines here will close at midnight, but the numbers for all the investigating forces will be on your screen in a moment, and we'll see you next month. Till then, good night.
Good night.